So, John, what is your biggest gift and how would you use it to save or end the world?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious that my greatest gift is the gift of laughter. Well, crickets. Crickets. And yeah, I think I could use that to heal the world in a pinch, you know.
Okay, how would you use it to end the world?
Well, if your reaction to that little one-liner is anything to go by, I'd just...
Kill him with boredom.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Some films are fine just the way they are. Other films sometimes take it way too far. But really, how bad could it get? Let's go beyond the box set.
Welcome everybody to Beyond the Box Set, the podcast where today we are picturing prequels, sequels and spin-offs to The Girl with All the Gifts.
Yay.
We'll also be pitching some drinking games and hearing from our listeners with the submissions they've posted on social media. But first, we're going to talk about some of our favourite moments from the film and give a bit of a plot summary. I am Harry, the host with the most gifts to give.
I have never received one as far as I'm aware.
Sure, okay. What about these coasters right here?
As that's true, you did bless me 2 years ago with these 99 pence green coasters. So
And don't you forget
I
it,
will
bitch.
never forget that, yeah.
And joining me as always, the co-host who likes all sorts of meats, is John Lucas.
Fair, yes.
Yes.
Can't argue with that.
Okay, so The Girl with All the Gifts then.
Yeah.
What did you think of this? Is this a Patreon episode?
This is a Patreon... Well, yeah, it's a Patreon pick.
Yeah.
Yes, this was chosen by our good friend of the pod, Julio, from the Contrarians podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Do check them out. I'll put a promo in the interval break and we'll give you all the links in the description as well. But yes, while we've been on lockdown, we haven't had much of a chance to do Patreon episodes, so we're trying to get that back up a little bit. And yes, Julio suggested this one for what will become obvious reasons. But yeah, I'm very glad he did. I did not see this film when it came out in the cinemas.
No, never heard about
For
it.
the 2 days it was probably running, unfortunately.
Oh.
No, that's something like I'm surprised watching this film. It's like this film deserves to have been like a hit. Like it's smart, it's exciting,
It looks good.
it's accessible, it's got stars.
It doesn't look low budget, this film,
Not
does
at
it?
all. No. I can only assume that this film's one of those things that like got lost in like the marketing campaign just fell apart. Like they didn't know how to sell it, because this is absolutely up there with 28 Days Later as like great British horror zombie movies, I think.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great, like really entertaining and smart, had a point of view, brilliantly acted. All the acting was fantastic. Yeah, I very much enjoyed this, so a very good pick from Julio.
Yeah, I thought this was fantastic. I thought this was really good. I was not going to say I was sold from the get-go, because Julio did recommend to us that we go in blind.
Yes.
So like I was like, oh god, what is this? I know Glenn Close is in this, and we've got a history.
I like they say that as if like you and Glenn Close are like enemies. Like she knows what she did.
Yeah, but well, let's do a plot summary, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. Well, first of all, I didn't know even that this was a zombie movie.
No, me neither.
So that made an additional level of excitement, because I think it takes about 20 minutes for the movie to reveal that it is sort of a zombie movie.
And I think that knowing that it was a zombie movie and then watching it would maybe have been quite boring for the first section.
Because you'd know what you was building
Yeah,
to.
you'd just be like, okay, come on, bring in the zombies.
Yeah.
You know, whereas that, you compare it to something else, like, say, 28 Days Later. They're not necessarily showing the zombies, but like they're showing, here's the apocalypse world.
True, yeah, this film...
Right, straight out the gate.
Straight out the gate, yeah.
And like, say, Shaun of the Dead, they just tease it all the way until they actually show them. And and you know exactly what it is you're watching. This one, they don't. But yeah, it was really interesting to go in blind and work it out, and yeah.
Good morning, Miss Justineau.
Helen, we are in the middle of a procedure.
Leave it. I'm not doing this anymore.
More self-doubt, Helen. We are so close.
This isn't what I signed up for.
It is exactly what you signed up for.
We're cutting up children.
They present as children. You know my opinion on that.
That the pathogen, the fungus, does their thinking for them. You only have to speak to them for 5 minutes.
I do that every day. I read your reports every day. Helen, this is an argument I've had with myself 1,000 times. But I'm listening.
So yeah, it's a British film. It's directed by Colin McCarthy, who also wrote the original novel. It's based on an original book called also The Girl with All the Gifts. And it opens in some kind of military facility in Britain. And we meet this little girl who's about maybe 10, 12 years old, maybe?
Something like that,
Probably
yeah.
about 12, called Melanie. And she's one of many children who appears to be imprisoned in this facility. And they all are in solitary confinement, and they're all strapped down in kind of wheelchairy kind of things to make sure they can't move their arms and legs or their heads. But they're being kept alive, and they're being sent to classes. And they're being taught things. But it seems like they're being mistreated, and the film doesn't really tell you why initially. And kind of as it goes along, you see that the guards of the facility really mistrust them. Like, they are always having guns pointed right at their heads. They're not left alone for any period of time, particularly.
I'm just wondering, how many kids did they start off with?
Yeah, because they're really working their way through them.
Yeah, because, like, well, in this you get through a couple, but I'm just thinking, all these guns that are constantly pointed at them are held by people who are absolutely terrified. All somebody would need to do would just be to move their arm really quickly, and then
they'd be dead.
They'd get shot in the head.
Well, that's why they're strapped down. Yeah.
I guess, yeah. True.
But no, you're right. Absolutely. Well, the film kind of
just like
explains.
they cough or something, and somebody would just get a bit, not necessarily trigger happy, but just a little bit accidentally scared. And
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. Like, as many movies as you watch, there are some things that I never get used to, and one of those things is like violence towards children. It always like upsets me. So like, any film where like a gun is being pointed at a small child's head, it's always a tough watch for me. Like,
what do you think about children being violent? Because this film has both.
yeah, that's not. I don't know. That doesn't upset me as much. I think that's because then I'm like, oh well, it's this, and then I can
The
kind of put
adults
it
are the
away.
victims, so it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's like an evil, the children in this aren't necessarily evil, but if that's the premise, then you can be like, oh well, this is just silly.
Yeah.
But no, there's something about like guns being pointed at little children that just, I just find very difficult to watch. So
I did get taken out of this a bit. I'm jumping ahead a little bit, where she eats two people.
yeah,
And just like,
yeah, I laughed at that scene too because it was just like,
yeah, like, oh, this is our main character who we're rooting for, and she's just eaten two people. Okay,
but I love that.
how do we move forward with this?
I loved that though because it really it never pretended that Melanie was a completely innocent character. It made her very much part of this ecosystem that, I mean, when we get to what the film's about, I think that's really important, that she is in fact, she's not innocent, she's part of this ecosystem that makes her a carnivore and a killer. But yeah, we'll get to that. So she's in this facility, all the soldiers treat her with absolute terror and hold her at gunpoint, but she goes to class and she's taught by a lovely lady called Mrs. Justineau, played by Gemma Arterton. And she's the only adult character who seems to take pity on these children, and she seems to really see them as people and as human beings and as small children, and she really tries to make their lives better, but she's always being told not to by the guards. Like, the guards are like, don't touch them, don't look at them, just teach them. And she kind of goes against that, but we find out why, because on one occasion when she tries to make physical contact with Melanie, she touches her on the top of her head to kind of tell her well done for a good job in school. The guards run in and they say this is why you can't do this, and they rub their arms in front of the kids.
They spit on their arms.
They spit on their arms and they wipe off what we later discover is a scent blocker.
Yeah.
And it sends the kids into a wild rage, and that's when we realise the kids are zombies.
Yeah.
They are flesh-eating zombies,
Yeah.
but they also have the minds and the consciousnesses of children. So that's why they're locked down, basically. And it turns out that this whole film exists in a post-apocalyptic world where some kind of fungal viral infection has spread. This pandemic has spread across the world, and it's killed most people, and these soldiers are like among the last survivors trying to hold on and trying to find out a vaccine, trying to find some kind of cure for this situation.
Yeah.
One of the main characters in this is Glenn Close, our old friend Glenn Close, who plays a scientist. I can't remember the character's name, but she's a scientist.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, she's a
Glenn
scientist,
Close.
yeah. And she's trying to develop a vaccine to the viral pandemic thing, and she does that by dissecting these children, who we learn are these second generation zombies, where basically this pandemic,
It's a very specific way of coming into being.
it is, yeah. So what we find out, and this is much later in the film, is that this thing hit the world. It's like Walking Dead style. One day it hit, all the adults died, became zombies, ate each other, it spread across the globe.
Yeah.
And all the children in the film are the children of women who were pregnant at the time of this happening, and they caught onto it and became zombies, and they ate their way out of the womb, which is a horrifying mental image.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
And they did that.
When Glenn Close sort of initially sort of said that, she started off by basically just giving a little hint that was what happened, and I was like, oh yeah, I like that. They flirted with that idea in The Walking Dead once.
Yes, they did. Yeah,
yeah, and they didn't actually do anything with it.
But this film fully goes there.
Yeah, and I was a bit taken aback at how much detail Glenn Close actually went into without anybody saying, okay, stop, I get the picture.
Well, this film really is not afraid. Maybe this is why it wasn't easy to sell, because this film definitely goes to some very dark places with some of the things it shows, which we'll talk about that as well. But yeah, so these are children who were fetuses or unborn babies, ate their way out of the womb.
Yeah.
But what distinguishes them from the rest of the zombies? The rest of the zombies are literally mindless zombies. Although I should say, not zombies, Hungaries. I hate this so much.
Yeah.
Why can't they just call them what is this?
You're not smart by not saying the word zombie.
I don't know where this has come from, where every zombie film, TV show, whatever
has to make up its own word for zombie.
But I think Hungaries might be the stupidest one yet.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because it's such a smart film.
Yeah.
But Hungaries, come on. Just call them zombies. We don't care.
Yeah.
Just say it. Own it.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Everybody knows the word zombie.
Yeah. It's like it's become this taboo now. It's like, okay, The Walking Dead calls them walkers, and what did they call them in 28 Days Later? I can't remember, but
maybe just the infected.
The infected, but nobody ever calls them zombies, and it's like Hamlet.
Shaun of the Dead called them zombies.
No, it didn't.
It did. No. Some characters, like Nick Frost, did say zombies, but then Shaun of the Dead was like, don't say that.
They made a joke of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's it. It's like at this point, it's gone so far the other way. You'd be better just calling them zombies.
Yeah.
But whatever. But these children who were in the womb when they were converted, they are different. The adults, I'm just going to call them zombies or Hungaries.
Yeah.
The adults just literally are zombies. They are, your classic shuffling, walking around, eating people's brains, no cognitive function zombies. Yeah. But these children, they present as normal children. They have feelings, they have thoughts.
Glenn Close is trying to come up with a cure or a vaccine or whatever it is. It's really not the be-all and end-all that she makes out that it's going to be. Because most people seem to die from this just by getting literally eaten alive.
Yeah.
And, no cure is going to make you uneatable.
Well, true.
like some people do, get a little bite on the arm and then they turn into a zombie. And yeah, I get it. It would, I guess, stop that. But the majority of people just literally get ripped apart.
I don't think she's looking for something to bring people back from the dead. I think she's looking for something to stop the zombies so that humanity can come back again.
Yeah.
It's the infection she wants to stop, not the... Yeah. The people who are dead, you're right, people who've been eaten, they've been eaten, that's it. But people who've just been bitten turn into zombies, classic.
Yeah.
But these children, they present as normal children, with feelings and thoughts and emotions and personalities, whatever. But they are also hungry for human flesh. And so the reason they're in the military facility is that they're being experimented on to try and find this vaccine, and they're also trying to figure out, to what extent they're human. That's why they're educating them, all this kind of stuff. But yeah, they can't afford to let them loose because as soon as they get a sense of human blood or flesh, whatever, they're kind of overcome by the cravings and they start biting.
Yeah.
So yeah, Gemma Arterton's character feels a lot of sympathy for them, whereas Glenn Close's character is very much just all about dissecting them and trying to find a cure. And then Paddy Considine plays one of the soldiers, the main soldier, and he doesn't trust them at all.
No.
But what the humans do is they wear this, in the military facility, they wear this gel that's called a blocker, and it blocks the scent of human flesh, I guess, which means that it's safe to be around the zombies, and the zombies don't, or the Hungaries, don't immediately start feeling the desire to eat them.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah. So that happens. So she's being mistreated. Gemma Arterton tries to be nice to her, tries to help her, but it backfires. Melanie tries to eat her. As a consequence, Melanie becomes the next person to be dissected. So she is then taken into Glenn Close's lab, and she's about to be dissected and killed. But just before that happens, a zombie horde attacks the facility. Most of the soldiers and the staff are killed.
Now, I kind of liked that we sort of didn't see the horde really wrecking the facility.
No, they kept it
and breaking in. That's not quite what this film is about. But I also really was wondering, okay, how did an entire army base just fall because some zombies got in? surely they would have spent, had a lot of time on their hands, surely they'd have spent all that time doing drills for, like, what if the walls fail?
Yeah. I can only assume it's like The Walking Dead, where, like, maybe just, like, they've been keeping the base... Like, imagine if, like, you've got to think of the majority of the population of the UK, which is, what, 60 million people?
Something like that, yeah.
All became zombies, and there's, like, only a few holdouts.
Yeah.
Like, you can defend yourself from individuals, but if a herd attacks, then maybe there's nothing you can do. Maybe that's what happened.
Yeah, but when you got a fence, and you got...
Yeah, but if 20,000, 30,000 people, you know, I'm just, you know. Also, this film had a low budget, that's why they didn't show it, you know.
Yeah, I guess.
They splurged all their budget on Glenn Close.
Yeah. I'm not saying they should have done it differently, but I'm just...
I know what you mean,
I'm just kind of wondering, like, that army base kind of fell seemingly very easily.
Yeah. But I think it's good that they kept that ambiguous.
Yeah.
But yes, so the Horde attacks, overruns the facility. In the confusion, Melanie escapes. She rescues Gemma Otterton from the zombies and from the soldiers. She's been arrested for trying to save Melanie. She rescues her by, as you mentioned, killing a couple of humans by like just jumping at them like and eating their necks.
Which, because that initially starts with, you know, she's saving her from other zombies or whatever. But then it very quickly, like, she just kills 2 soldiers.
Yeah, she is who she is. I think that's important to the plot.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she saves her, and in the confusion, the 2 of them escape, jump into the back of a tank, which also contains Glenn Close, who's also escaped, and Paddy Considine.
Yeah.
And also 2 red shirts.
Yeah.
2 of the greatest, the reddest shirted red shirts you will ever find in a movie. They are the ultimate red shirts. I was like, you 2 are dead men walking.
Yeah.
Like, one of them lasted longer than I thought. Like, he got a name and he got to be a part of it.
Yeah. You know what? I didn't even notice him until after the first guy died.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
No, same. And then he's like, oh, well...
And then he becomes the main character, and it's like, all right, so they're going to try and save Kieran or whatever.
Yeah, but...
We'll get to that.
Clearly, no. But it was because it was like Glenn Close, Paddy Considine, Gemma Otterton, like 3 very famous, you know, adult actors. The child, who's obviously the focus of this movie.
Yeah.
And this guy in a red shirt who's clearly going to be not going to last the movie. But, so they escape the facility. One thing leads to another. The other red shirt dies. He just gets very quickly killed. But they end up in London.
Yeah.
And they're trying to reconnect with whatever's left of the military. And they also need to find a safe place to hide out. So they are wandering through London. And Melanie has the advantage, the little girl, because she is a hungry, technically. The other zombies don't care about her. They've got no interest in eating her, or like they don't respond to her. So she's kind of immune.
Yeah.
So she can walk among them safely, whereas the humans have to, even though they're wearing the blocker gel, they have to be very careful, because if they attract attention, they could be eaten alive. And so she starts to win the trust of, well, Gemma Otterton already trusts her, but Paddy Considine and Glenn Close, she starts to win their trust by like proving that she actually wants to help them and keep them alive, and you know, she kind of saves them a few times, and they manage to find some places to hide. I really liked, actually, the one twist on the whole zombie thing that I thought was really good was this idea that when the zombies aren't feeding, they're sleeping. Yeah. Which I don't think I've seen in a zombie film before.
No, not really.
So it means that basically all of the zombies, when they're not attacking people, are like asleep standing up. So it means that they're there.
Initially, I didn't take it to mean that they were asleep, though that is definitely what they were. I thought they'd just sort of run out of any motivation to do anything.
Sure, but they're inactive. And they're not...
yeah, like they definitely are asleep, because like some of them just get woken up like one by one.
Yeah, it's like loud noises or the scent of human flesh will arouse them, but ultimately they're just... It was a new take on like the zombie thing. You can having people walk through an actual horde of zombie people, and it's just like, if you make a noise, they're going to wake up, but if you don't, then you're safe.
Yeah.
And
Glenn Close plays it risky as fuck.
She does, in maybe the most disturbing scene in the movie.
Yeah.
So they're walking through this horde of zombies, and you know they see one zombie that's pushing a pram. And Glenn Close is like, oh, this is new. So she kind of walks up to it and stops it with her foot, so that she can investigate because she can see that the pram is moving, and it's like, oh god, zombie baby. And I was like so ready for zombie baby.
Same.
And it was so much worse than a zombie baby. It was so awful. I'm so glad. I think it's one of those things where they obviously, it was a quick cut, so that I bet they showed far less than you think, but your imagination does all the work. So basically, she thinks it's a zombie baby, and she's like, oh, there's been no record of zombies being maternal. So she kind of stops the pram with her foot, and the zombie's just kind of, you know, walking on the spot because it doesn't really know. And then she uses her gun to put the blanket over, and oh, it's a rat eating a dead baby, and oh, I did not feel well. That was upsetting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and she screams, and all the zombies wake up, and then they have to fight their way out, and they make their way to a safe space anyway. They find themselves locked in, I think, a school or something. Some kind of facility.
Yeah.
So, and this is where Melanie, the little girl, she's like, well, send me out and I'll distract the zombies. The whole time she's been like locked up and she's wearing a mask. They put a mask over her face to make sure she can't possibly, because she still does get this hunger to eat people. But she says, if you let me outside, I'll find a way to draw the zombies off. And so
You have missed the point at the very start of the film where she's locked in her cell, where she has the 2 pictures of cats.
Oh yeah,
that she sticks on her wall and then hides under her pillow every day. Just reminding you of that. Do carry on.
I forgot about that. Yeah. Well, clearly she's a cat person, because the first thing she does, she gets out and she runs through the city and she finds an abandoned dog, and she brings the dog back, and then she basically.
Ask the cat first.
Is it the cat first?
Yeah,
Does she eat the cat then?
Yeah, she goes and she eats the cat, and I was like, oh god, don't eat a cat, no. I mean, obviously, the moment I saw the cat, I was like, she's going to eat that thing.
Yeah.
And she did. And firstly, I felt really bad for her clothes. Because like she just made a big thing about having these new clothes put on, and she's wearing like a bright white t-shirt, and I'm like, well, that's a mistake.
And now it's all covered in cat blood.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fashion's the real victim in this film. Tragic.
Yeah, and then she eats the cat, and I'm like, oh, okay, fine, whatever. And then she goes and she finds this dog, and I'm like, she can eat a dog as well?
She's a growing girl.
Well, sure, yeah, I guess. But no film actually has the guts to kill a dog on screen. Sorry, to have a zombie eat a dog on screen.
No, that'll be unacceptable.
Yeah. I mean, as much as a cat person I am, I do agree that cats are the villains always.
Yes, exactly.
So, yeah.
So she brings this dog back and releases it to distract the zombies. The zombies all chase after the dog, meaning that Glenn Close and the crew can escape. And they eventually find themselves in a kind of mobile laboratory, like a military lab.
Yeah.
But on the way there, they find a tower, a giant tower that is kind of a fungal...
It's the BT tower, that is.
It's the BT tower, yeah, but it's kind of overgrown by like plants, but also like this fungus that's taken over, and also all of the original zombies have become the plants, kind of thing. And it's basically the next stage of this infection thing, where the plants have developed these seed pods that, if they open, will release spores, and then the virus will go airborne, and then that's the end of the world, because then every human will breathe them in and become a zombie.
Yeah.
So that's the last thing anyone wants to happen. Although Glenn Close seems to be pretty, like, playing this pretty loose.
Yeah.
She's like, look, I can bounce it on the ground. It's fine. Like, how did you find that out?
Yeah. If you're wrong, the world ends.
That's a huge risk, Glenn Close, yeah.
Maybe it'll bounce on the ground 5 times.
Yeah.
And that's it.
But, yeah, so
God, she's mental.
She is insane.
This is a sporangium, a seed pod. There must be tens of thousands of them in that mass. If they were to open...
What?
The end of the world. Probably.
Why would it be the end of the world if it opened?
The hungry pathogen would become airborne. You catch it by just breathing. But look. It's a bad design. Mutants have to take the rough with the smooth.
But they go and they find this military mobile lab that's like airlocked and secure, and it seems to have been abandoned. And they lock themselves in there, but then the last remaining red shirt goes out to find supplies.
Yeah, for some reason he gets sent out by himself. And this guy is clearly not smart.
He's clearly the red shirt, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's not just he's clearly the red shirt, he's clearly just not very clever. He walks into the most obvious trap that anybody has ever made.
He does.
It basically says, I am a trap, walk into me.
Also, he goes out into the city, and then Melanie, the little girl, says, you need to let me go out too because he's in danger.
Yeah.
But at no point are they like, well, maybe we should tell him.
Yeah.
Because we're just going to send a zombie child who may well eat his face.
They do have a working radio with this, but they show that after they've had a long conversation about it. Yeah.
You know, it's all plot mechanics, whatever. But anyway, he gets eaten by feral
I
children.
love the trap they set, though.
Yeah.
When they just put out like a small line of tin cans, he's like, "Oh, a tin can, great! Oh, another tin can.
He is
another tin can."
He is like the virgin at the start of the horror movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he goes and it's porno mags initially, isn't it? He breaks into a newsagent. He's like, "Oh, porn mags," and then he's like, and then he follows this one child who's clearly a zombie. He's like, "Oh, well, let me follow you into this darkened corner where I'm going to get my face eaten." Mm-hmm. But anyway, he gets eaten, regardless. He lasted longer than I thought he would. So then Melanie finds the feral children, who are like her. They're second generation zombie children, but they're a lot less civilized. They're just trying to eat people, and they manage to capture Gemma Arterton and Paddy Considine for a bit, but then Melanie manages to save them by fighting off the lead child and beating him to death, and then they escape and they go back to the lab.
Yeah.
And when they're back at the lab, Glenn Close, who's still alive, reveals that she is dying. She's got blood poisoning.
Oh, yeah, because she injured herself.
She injured herself, but she's not a zombie. She's just got blood poisoning. Yeah. But so she's like, I need to finish this vaccine. I'm so close to catching the vaccine. So she really wants Melanie to agree to be killed. She's like, Melanie, I'm going to dissect you.
I'd just like your brain in your spine.
I just need to cut your brain and your spine open, and then everything will be fine for everyone else.
Yeah.
So she's trying to make her do that. But then Melanie kind of has a moment of realization where she's like, oh, actually, I'm the next generation, and this is the end of the world for humans, but it's not the end of the world for everyone. So she runs away, and she goes to the BT tower with all the seed pods, and she sets a fire that causes all the pods to open and all the spores to unleash. So she basically unleashes the apocalypse.
Yeah.
And then Paddy Considine follows her. He breathes in the spores, and he starts turning into a zombie or hungry, and he begs Melanie to kill him, so she mercy kills him. Glenn Close also gets eaten by children.
Yeah.
Feral children.
So when Melanie and Glenn Close having this conversation, then Melanie runs off, just says, "Stay where you are," which when she said that, I thought it meant like, "I'll be right back."
Yeah.
But Glenn Close is like, no, I'm gonna go and follow this girl somehow. No, I'm gonna wait 5 minutes, and then I'm gonna follow this girl out into central London in the middle of the night when it's overrun by zombies by myself, and I'm about to die in about half an hour anyway.
I think that's
from
why.
blood poisoning. Yeah,
she had minutes to live. She had to make a call.
I guess, but like Glenn Close, what do you think is gonna happen?
True. I thought Glenn Close was going to be in this movie for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, me too.
I was impressed that she was in most of the movie. I thought it was going to be like one of those things like, oh, I'm in London on a Tuesday, I'll do a little cameo,
Yeah.
But no, she's a very important part of this film.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I know what you mean. I wondered why, if she just needs to dissect a second generation, kidnap a feral kid. Like, there's not like Melanie's already beaten one to death. She clearly doesn't have an emotional attachment to them. Just bring one of them back.
Yeah.
But I think this movie obviously has a point of view about like humanity, and it's obviously like a whole parable about how humanity versus the world.
We also might not have been. Glenn Close might have been a little bit mad, and she might be. She might be making out that like Melanie is the one that I need, but she might have said that about the kid number 13 who died at the start of the film.
True, yeah. There's no guarantee that she would have found it.
There was no point where she said like, "Oh, I've been looking, I've been dissecting loads of children, but it turns out Melanie is actually the one. Like, she's going to be the one that's going to do this."
Yeah.
There was no point where she said that proof. It was just like, Melanie is another one.
That is very true.
And Glenn Close is like, maybe the next one's going to be the one.
That's absolutely right, yeah.
Yeah.
And, yeah. So, ultimately, the spores are released, Paddy Considine dies, Glenn Close dies, and then the last surviving human, who is Gemma Arterton's character, who's always been the kindest one to to Melanie, she wakes up and she's still in the lab. So she's in this kind of locked container, I guess, where the spores haven't got to her.
Yeah.
And she's still safe, but she very quickly realizes that Melanie has brought about the end of the world. And they have this little moment between the glass where they look at each other. But Melanie decides to keep her alive and spare her. And then at the end of the movie, we see that all the feral children are now being brought to the lab, and Mrs. Justineau is teaching them, teaching them a class through the glass. Yeah. And I guess it's a somewhat hopeful question mark.
And my favourite bit, which is kind of how the film ends as well, is that Melanie then comes up to the glass and she blue tacks some pictures of cats to it. And Miss Justineau says, "Oh, Melanie, would you like a cat?" and Melanie says, "No, Miss Justineau, I already had one."
I am full.
And that's how it finishes.
Yeah, it is a weird, funny joke for a film that's not like the film that's not very jokey. It ends on a very jokey moment.
Yeah, about murdering a cat.
Yeah, well, you know,
Bizarre.
absolutely
bizarre.
but very good.
Yeah, yeah, it was.
Yeah, I had a good time with this. Any further thoughts?
I liked how it was very clearly set in Britain.
Yeah, I always like a bit of British horror. I think we do it very well. So yeah,
Yeah,
and especially having like one Hollywood American star in it,
yeah,
it just makes it. Yeah, it gives it that little air of credibility. Okay, I have a question.
yeah.
So obviously we did our Glenn Close season. And it was a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
If this film had been part of the Glenn Close season, would it be the best one?
Oh, I have to remember all these shit films again. So, Fatal Attraction, Dangerous Liaisons, Air Force One,
Mars
Mars
Attacks.
Attacks. Yeah, I think it would have.
This would be the best one.
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah. So you chose poorly, John.
Well, I didn't know this existed, and this isn't really a Glenn Close movie. It's a movie Glenn Close is in. So you know, although that's true also of Mars Attacks and Air Force One. Well, but after the first two, I was like, well, this is a losing game. So you know.
Well, it was a losing game. Yeah, you clearly lost. Right, enough of that. Should we move on?
Drinking games?
Yes.
Sure. Do you want to go first?
Yeah. So drink for recognisable brands.
Oh yeah, I loved this.
Yeah.
That's what I always like about like films set in Britain, but this film really leaned into it. Like it's set in. I think it was filmed in Birmingham. It's set in London, but yes, every time a brand name, there's like Marks and Spencers and Next, and like it really added to that general sense of like post-apocalyptic Britain.
Yeah.
Like, okay, drink for classic zombie movie mistakes. Like mistakes people always make in zombie movies.
What, like, oh, let's go into this small dark room that I need to squeeze in through a gap so small I must take off all my weapons and protective gear.
Well, yes, red shirt guy obviously was the worst of the worst. But, you know, splitting up.
Yeah.
Never split up, you know.
Yeah.
Split up to explore.
Using loud guns.
Making a loud noise, that was next on my list, yeah. Turning your back on a window. Always... always death in a zombie movie.
Yeah.
You turn your back on a pane of glass, that pane of glass is going to shatter and a zombie is going to eat your brains.
Yeah.
Which is what happens to Glenn Close's like nurse in the...
Yeah.
So any like classic zombie movie mistakes, drink.
Yeah. Sure. Drink whenever Melanie is mistreated or whenever somebody talks about killing Melanie right in front of her.
Yeah, she's not treated well in this film.
No.
I don't blame her for ending the world.
How would that make you feel?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Drink every time Melanie chows down on something disgusting.
Yeah, I've got drunk whenever Melanie eats something.
So, you know, a cat.
People.
What else does... Worm. Yeah, she eats a whole lot of shit. Yeah.
Has anybody ever actually tried giving her, like, real food? Maybe she loves it.
What, like broccoli?
Yeah. Or just like a bowl of Cheerios or something.
Sure.
Just like, maybe that does
Yeah.
really work for her.
Yeah, kids are often very stubborn. They think they only want to eat one thing.
She's just been brought up with, like, you know, raw meat, so that's all she knows. Yeah, sure. What if you try giving her normal food?
I agree completely.
Maybe she loves flapjacks.
Yeah. That could have been a much shorter movie.
Cool. Yeah, drink whenever you see a non-zombified dead body.
Okay.
I noticed that this kind of set this film apart from a lot of other zombie movies, where this one, if your body gets injured significantly enough, you're not going to turn into a zombie because
You have to be bitten.
Yeah, like in this one, it's an infection. They're trying to keep it in a realm of scientific realism.
Yes.
Where like everything still works, but if somebody's had all their guts eaten and all their muscles are eaten and stuff, then they're not going to turn into a zombie and they can't move. They're just
dead. Yeah.
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 Which, you know, it all makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. No, this film... Oh, that's what I was going to say.
Because like other films, you can like... you can even decapitate somebody and then their head will
be
like,
a zombie.
Yeah, like it...
Well, here's a disturbing bit of trivia for you. Do you know that this film has like actual scientific basis?
All right.
Yeah. If you ever want to sleep again, do not Google zombie ants. It's a real thing. Have you seen it? Yeah, like these mushrooms. It's like, honestly, this film is obviously taken from it. It's these kind of mushroom or spores in like the African rainforest or something, where if they get into an ant and they will grow inside the ant's brain and they'll compel the ant to climb up to a perfect ecological climate, so that they'll be gravitated to. They'll suddenly feel like a desperate need to be somewhere warmer and higher, and whatever it might be, and with a breeze or whatever it might be. And the ant will go, and then the spore will like kill the ant, and then grow from it, and then it'll spit its own spores, and they can wipe out whole ant civilizations. It's terrifying.
God, that is...
It's so creepy, yeah.
That is just chills.
It is, it's true.
Yeah. Oh, man. I love it.
Yeah, hopefully it's just stick to the ants.
Yeah, just don't mutate something else.
Please don't mutate, yeah.
Oh, imagine if it did to start doing it something bigger. You know, if it starts doing it to just like cattle or something.
Yeah. Yeah, that is its own zombie movie. I mean, it's this movie, but yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Pretty scary. Okay. Drink every time Melanie removes her mask.
Yeah, sorry, I'm still thinking about
Still thinking about those ants.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Like, they've not done a very good job
of securing that mask.
No, they're like,
no.
She could literally eat us, so let's make sure she's wearing a muzzle at all times. But anytime she wants to, she's just like, I don't need this muzzle.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Made me laugh every time she just pulled it off with ease.
It was a very convenient mask to find in the truck as well.
That too,
like,
yeah.
Oh, we found one mask. What should we do with this? I don't know. Let's stick it on a zombie we've stuck on the convenient seat on the roof.
Yeah. Also true, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, any more?
No, I don't have any more.
No, okay, last one. Drink for every mention of the word hungries, which I do find very irritating.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Yeah. So drink any time they could have said zombie.
They could have just said zombies, yeah.
Cool. All right, listeners, if you've enjoyed this so far and you've enjoyed any other episode, you might consider saying thank you to me and John.
It gets more aggressive every week, I swear to God.
I try and make it different every week. I guess I'm just going in the same direction with it. If you do want to say thank you, you should say thank you. You can say thank you by going to patreon.com/beyondtheboxset and supporting John for as much or as little as you think we're worth.
Supporting John for as much or as little as you think we're worth, you just said.
Did I?
Yeah.
Okay, well...
You don't care about yourself, just me.
Okay, well, you know what? Screw me. Go and support John. He needs your money. He needs the attention. Think of a John. Support a John near you. Go to patreon.com/beyondtheboxset. And if you do, you get a few bonus features. You get to hear John talking about a movie that he's seen recently.
Yes.
Sometimes he'll let me talk as well. You also get extended versions of the main show where John re-edits in all the things that he cut out of himself talking. It's more John for your buck.
Yeah, less Harry, more John.
Yeah.
It's basically a monologue, the extended episode. Yeah.
And let's see what else happens. You get the exclusive Facebook group. You get a 30-second advert slot on the main show as well. And also, as this episode is, we sometimes do our Patreon episodes. But we get a Patreon to choose a film for us. They can guess if they want to, but clearly they don't have to. And it's just great for me and John to find a film that we would otherwise definitely never have done.
No, that's it. It's really good for us. It's really cool for us to see a film that we would never have considered before. And that's happened a couple of times recently. It's nice.
Yeah.
Broadens our horizons.
Yeah. So all that is available at patreon.com/beyondtheboxset. Support a John in need.
Let's see, Alex. What do you think of Jaws, which is at 97% Rotten Tomatoes?
I find it to be anti-shark propaganda. What do you feel about the Entourage movie, which is at a meager 33%?
I think they finally got Hollywood right. How about It Follows, 97%?
Worse than your parents giving you the sex is evil talk. How do you feel about Juno, which is at 94%?
That would be a movie that celebrates a teenage homewrecker. How about Bewitched at 25%?
Best television adaptation ever put to film. How do you feel about American Hustle at a towering 93%?
Overwrought awards bait. Righteous Kill, 19%.
The movie that Michael Mann wishes he had made when he created Heat.
Sounds about right. I'm Julio.
I'm Alex, and we are the Contrarians.
As you can tell, our thing is that we rage against the Rotten Tomatoes machine.
Regardless of what we really feel.
Find us on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn,
Facebook, Twitter, we're everywhere.
Right, okay. Do you want to go first then?
Sure, okay. Well, wait, it's my film. I mean, I can go first.
Is it your film? It's a Patreon film.
Oh, it's a Patreon film. Okay, fine, I'll go first. No worries. Okay, so my sequel idea, it's based on a very minor character in this film. It's based on the dog that Melanie
That
brings
doesn't
into the...
surprise me you've gone for the dog.
No, I love a dog. So there was a scene in this film.
Surprised the dog didn't come back at the end.
I know. I was like, I was very invested in that dog's future, but sadly the film was not. Yeah, there's a scene in this film where Melanie finds a dog in an abandoned house, and she takes it to the crowd of zombies and uses it to distract the zombies by releasing it. It runs away, the zombies chase it. And I thought, oh, that poor dog.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'll give that dog some credit with a sequel.
Okay.
So
Is it a very short-lived sequel? It ran down a dead end. It did.
No, this dog lives.
Okay.
So it's your classic like Pixar-style animation about a dog named Snuffles.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that intentionally the Rick and Morty dog?
I can't remember where it came from, but sure. If that's what the dog is called. Yeah. It just came to me. Yeah. A dog named Snuffles who survives a zombie apocalypse. So I feel like we're going to drop into the middle of the action, much like the original film. So the dog is already surviving, living on the streets, hunting for scraps, just avoiding all the human zombies.
Yeah.
But we'll also get some flashbacks. Oh, we need a voice for this dog first and foremost.
Okay, Jeremy Irons.
Good shout. Great, I'll go with that. Yeah. So we're going to get some flashbacks to his former life as a beloved household pet. A pampered pooch. So because it's from a dog's perspective, he doesn't know what's going on. Like, he doesn't understand that this world-ending situation's happened. All he knows is that one day, out of nowhere, his mistress ate his master and then tried to eat him.
Okay.
So he ran away, he fled from his house, and when he came back, his mistress was gone. So he waited in that same house for several months. Nobody came back. Just living on scraps, whatever he could find. And he just kept waiting there, living in that house, waiting for his mistress to come back and claim him again, not understanding that she was an undead zombie at this point.
Yeah.
So she never does come back, sadly. But one day, after several months of living like this, a strange little girl breaks into the house and comforts him. And he trusts her, and he feels like maybe she's going to rescue him and reunite him with his master and mistress. And she picks him up and walks him out of the house. And he thinks, oh, maybe I found a new owner, and this is great. But then she walks him into a huge crowd of hungries and drops him, and they all chase him, forcing him to run for his life again. He manages to escape. He runs away again. But now he feels extra terrified and completely betrayed. So he hides again in like the side streets in his old house and stuff.
Yeah.
He does make friends with a ginger cat, but she doesn't last very long. She disappears very quickly.
Okay.
That's the one that Melanie actually ate.
Ah, right. Oh, I thought it was a black cat.
Oh, was it a black cat? I thought it was a cat. Yes. He makes friends with a cat who gets eaten. So that happens. Now he's extra scared of humans, but he just spends his time hiding away trying to protect himself. After another few days, he notices a giant fire breaking out in the city, which is obviously the fire that Melanie sets, opening the spores. So he watches, helpless, as this giant fire spreads through the city, and suddenly all these spores spread through. But it turns out that dogs are immune to this. It only affects humans.
Yeah.
So he doesn't quite know what's going on, but all he knows is there's a giant fire, then all these weird spores kind of hit the city, and everything goes quiet, basically. But you can sense that something's definitely not right. When the fire dies down, things do seem a little bit calmer. Like, it seems like the original zombies, the hungries, maybe the spores also cause them to like deactivate, so they go to sleep and they don't wake up anymore.
Yeah.
So the place feels safer, but it's super deserted and quiet and dead. Because of that, because it's quieter, he feels bold enough to like explore a little bit more. He's okay to like travel around a little bit. So he wanders through the city and he encounters the feral children. The children from the film who eat the red shirts. And they also seem to have calmed down a little bit. They seem less hungry than they were before. So he cautiously goes up to them and they, show that they are not going to eat him. And they bond with him a little bit. And he slowly and surely becomes accepted into the pack of this pack of feral children, street children. And after a few days of this, after a bit of time of him, working with them and making sure that they fully accept him, they take him to meet their leader, who is Melanie. So he's shocked immediately as soon as this dog is taken to meet Melanie. He recognises her as the girl who tried to feed him to the zombies, and he's very scared again.
Yeah.
But she also recognises him as the dog that she fed to the zombies, and she feels very guilty, and she apologises and she tries to make amends for the way that she treated him and for what she did. And she tells him that she actually needs him for a very important mission. And she picks him up again, and he lets her. And she takes him to the military bunker. where she tells him that the last surviving human in the whole world is very lonely and needs a companion.
No.
I know, right? So she introduces this Snuffles to Mrs. Justineau. And after an appropriate period of quarantine, can't speak it, he's able to go into the lab with her. And she's been like in full solitary confinement for several months. So, you know, she strokes him very tentatively and she's very excited. And the film ends with Snuffles finally playing happily with his new human mistress, the last human alive, behind the closed glass while she teaches all the zombie children.
Oh, right, okay.
So, yeah, it's just a nice redemptive arc for the dog.
I remember that dog looking like it was a very old dog.
Well, let's just say it was just had a hard life.
Okay, great. Just thinking about how long is it going to last in with Mrs. Justineau before it...
It's going to be fine.
Sorry. In a post-credit scene...
In a post-credit... No.
Little gravestone?
No!
Just a little gravestone, shape of a bone?
That can be the third film, which I'm not writing.
Sure. Okay. Do you have a title for that?
Yes. So the original film was The Girl with All the Gifts. So my sequel is called The Dog with All the Treats.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, so mine is set about 10 years later.
Okay, after the events of the original film.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Sort of thing. So Melanie is about now 20 or something like that. She is the self-proclaimed Queen of Britain.
She is the new leader, the queen of the zombie Hungries, the queen of the Hungries. Okay.
Yeah. And she lives in her favourite building, which, though she does know about Buckingham Palace, her favourite building is actually the British Museum.
Okay, great.
A museum which is largely untouched from the zombie apocalypse, because why would that be a place that you'd raid?
Sure, it's boring.
And so it still has all the paintings and statues and things.
Oh, nice, okay.
Reason for this being, Melanie is obsessed with the history of humanity.
Good, okay.
She likes to learn about the people who used to think they owned the world, and she doesn't feel that she owns the world, but more her people just live on it for now.
Okay, it's a much healthier attitude, yeah.
Yeah. Well, one day one of her disciples brings back some Hungries who are wearing army uniforms. This is odd because there haven't been Hungries for about 10 years.
Okay, so they've evolved beyond the Hungry stage.
Yeah, all the old Hungries eventually grew into mushrooms.
Okay.
Melanie claims that this must mean that there are some alive humans in London, or at least there were fairly recently, and there might be more. So she commands everybody to be ready to meet some humans. She explains to them that humans can't breathe the air here and that they might try and kill us to steal the world back from us. So she leads a few people out on a search party with her, and they eventually find some humans living in an army base.
So they've survived the spore thing. They're fully human.
Yeah.
Okay.
She observes them for a few days and sees that they only come out with masks on, meaning that they've learned that the air is toxic to them.
Ah, okay.
So she marches up to the fence by herself and shouts to them just to make herself known. One of them brushes over, and seeing from their point of view just a young woman without a mask on, they assume that she's in trouble and not yet infected by the toxic air. So they let her in, and without listening to her, they force a mask on her until they can get her inside. And once through the airlock and decontamination, she's allowed to take her mask off. The person who rushed her into the building, Meryl Streep.
Ooh, interesting. Is this because Glenn Close is in this movie? You had to go one above and go Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go big or go home.
Go big or go home. Sure.
So Meryl, in an American accent,
of course,
asked Melanie who she is and how she survived living in Britain so long.
Well, that seems like a very pointed question for an American. How did you survive living in Britain this long? Look you, Yankee.
But Melanie isn't stupid, so before she reveals who she is and what she is, she wants to learn basically those same things about Meryl.
Sure.
Like, who are you? So she asks, and Meryl explains, and this is just... The bulk of this is going to be exposition from here on. Yeah, Meryl explains that the whole world didn't fall with the zombie apocalypse, and some countries had much lighter infections and were able to combat and quarantine appropriately. When the world saw what happened to Britain, as in the whole country just failed, the whole world locked down, but much more extremely than 2020.
So we were like the guinea pigs. We were like the canaries down the mine shaft. When Britain fell, the rest of the world was like, oh, not us.
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
But you could say like it's an infection that just originated in Britain. Like, say, coronavirus came from China.
Yeah, no, sure.
And, country zero or whatever you'd call it.
Yeah, we are patient zero in this scenario. Okay, great.
So all transport between continents immediately stopped and permanently stopped. And quarantines were set up along most international borders, especially Europe. And eventually the virus did mutate and go airborne.
Mm-hmm.
Little did anybody know that was a deliberate choice.
Sure.
But it went airborne, and hence most of Europe fell. And the UN demanded that Russia and the Middle East must be evacuated to stop the spread of the virus to the rest of the world.
Well, just evacuate all of Russia and the Middle East.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just like make a massive barrier. Do you know how they stop forest fires?
No?
They cut down a strip of trees.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And then, like, the fire can't get past that.
Oh, is that the idea then?
So basically like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not so much evacuating as quarantining.
Well, no, I guess evacuating, just like if this virus is airborne, you can't stop it.
Mm.
But if you make an area where it can't really cross because it's so vast, because there's no life in there for it to live off.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does, yeah. But what I mean is the entirety of Russia has not been evacuated.
Well, at least the western half, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know, but like
they've all just retreated to the Siberian side,
Yeah.
sure. Okay.
But some people refused to leave their homes,
Sure.
which caused Russia to execute thousands of Russians.
Okay.
It gets very extreme. Same thing happened in the Middle East, and the World Health Organization declared nuclear war.
Oh dear. Can they do that?
I don't know. I very much doubt it.
No.
In this they can.
Okay.
Millions of people were killed, but the plan worked, and the airborne virus was stopped by thousands of miles of lifeless land and open water.
Okay.
Billions of lives were saved.
Good.
So,
Okay.
East and South Asia, Oceania and the Americas, largely untouched from the virus.
Mm-hmm.
But there were a few outbreaks here and there. And with extremely violent military tactics carried out by the World Health Organization, the outbreaks were contained.
Is the World Health Organization the villain in this movie you've made?
The surviving governments have formed an alliance and declared war against the World Health Organization.
Did Donald Trump pay you to write this? Come on.
However, Meryl and her team are an independent military team.
Okay.
I nearly said Meryl Tree
An
team.
independent Merrill-tree team.
Who have come to try and end the war. And they'll do so by finding patient zero and developing a vaccine.
Okay, sure. Much like what Glenn Close wanted to do. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah, because with this vaccine, exactly what Glenn Close wanted to do. Because with this vaccine, there'll be no further like isolated outbreaks. Like like a little particle or spore gets across an ocean and lands itself in a different continent. That would just stop. That wouldn't mean anything if everybody's vaccinated.
Sure.
And so, hence, there'd be no further need for the World Health Organization ending said war.
Okay, very good.
All makes sense.
Yes.
And at this point, Melanie decides to own up to who she is. She says that 10 years ago, she made a childish decision to take the world away from humanity because she didn't feel it was fair for her to die.
So she regrets that now?
Yes. But now she is wiser, and she decides not to make the same selfish mistake and cause a decade of pain for billions of people.
Mm-hmm.
So she offers up her body and asks that when Meryl comes to name the vaccine, she calls it the Justineau vaccine.
Okay. Oh, that's nice.
As Miss Justineau was the person who brought Melanie...
Is Miss Justineau dead now?
Yes.
Okay.
She brought Melanie to this point in her maturity.
Okay. Oh, that's nice. Is that it?
That's it, yeah.
Oh, very good. No, I like that.
Bit of a war epic.
Well, yeah. I thought you were going to say it needed to be called like a melanoma. But no, the Justineau vaccine is much nicer. Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been good.
Yeah.
So for lack of a better name, The Girl with All the Gifts 2, Revenge of the World Health Organization.
Revenge of the World Health Organization. Wow. That seems very much like right-wing propaganda, but
yeah.
This podcast is not sponsored by Donald Trump, we promise.
Okay, The Girl with All the Gifts 2, Vaccinate Your Kids.
There we go, that's better, yeah.
Yeah, does that work?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah. Okay. No, very good, very good, very good.
I'm sorry, that was very silly and does not represent me politically.
I'm only joking. The idea is good. I like the basic plot line of it. Should we move on to listener submissions?
Mm-hmm.
What have you got?
Right, I've got a fair few here.
Okay.
So, Abhishek Pandey says, a prequel trilogy called The Girl with None, Some and Most of the Gifts.
Okay, so she gradually develops more gifts as time goes by, sure.
I guess. Michael Daniel says, I'm surprised given the trend of crap films getting sequels for no reason that this one still hasn't. Honestly, one of the most overhyped films of the last few years, and with that base scene being laugh out loud bad.
Overhyped? I'd literally never heard of this before this podcast. Wasn't overhyped here, but sure, okay.
Yeah. Let's see. Bradley Malbon says, what's funny about this is that it was filmed in my shithole hometown and they barely had to change anything. Yeah, I told you.
Okay.
I think they even put out a casting call for locals to play zombies. I mean, he didn't say it, but like, did they need makeup?
They need, yeah, sure.
Performances were really solid in my opinion, especially from Considine.
Yeah, I agree. Good acting in this film.
Ahmed Ali says, The Last of Us have all the gifts.
Oh, yes, that's because a lot of people said that this film had the exact same plot as a PlayStation game called The Last of Us. I've not played it, but sure.
I played a bit of it, but no. Didn't know it was a zombie game.
You mustn't have got very far then.
I didn't get very far, no. Well, David Bean says, The girl with all the dot gifts.
Dot gifts, as in like online game?
Yeah,
okay.
As in like the image, the GIF.
Oh, all the GIFs. Oh, okay, I see. Fair enough, yeah.
Graydon Condon says, The boy with 17.3% more gifts. It's about the gender pay gap now.
Oh, okay. Very clever, yeah.
And finally, just a little review. Ella Bethel says, God, this is one of my favourite films. It's so underrated.
It is underrated. I agree,
really
Anna.
is.
Yeah, good choice.
Yeah. Nice.
Yes. Okay, I have some as well. Jed Jong said, The girl with all the gifts. The surviving characters argue about whether to pronounce it with a hard or a soft G. Gifts versus GIFs, you know. Yeah. Mike Carey said, The girl with all the grits. A scientist working in another part of the world realises the cure for the fungal infection can be found in back issues of Grit magazine, if only she can find enough subscribers. She seeks out the one person who ever sold enough subscriptions to get the bike, and together they team up to save the world. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing Grit magazine is an American bike magazine. I don't know, but sure. Dennis Fanning said, The girl with even more gifts. Great. Kevin Mowry said, The girl with all the gifts too. Boxing Day. Tagline, she was also the girl with all the receipts. That's good. That's good. Sorry, Walt Williams said, The man with all the gifts, otherwise known as Santa Claus the movie. Over on Twitter, Julio, who recommended this film at Contrarian Prime, said, The old woman with none of the gifts. Miss Justineau has grown old and can feel she doesn't have much time left. She asks Melanie to take her into her hometown to die in peace. On the way, they run into humans who somehow were immune to the spores. Who will Miss Justineau side with? So that's a proper pitch there.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Blokebusters at Blokebusters said, I've got no serious sequel ideas this time. I felt it was really well wrapped up. However, the boy with none of the gifts. Wait, that's Harry Potter. Or the one with some of the gifts. A quite boring Friends Christmas episode. At Link Maximilian said, turns out it was all just a dream and Melanie is still in the facility. But now she's able to save all the other children because she knows what will happen. Also, I guess it's a dream while she's still locked up.
Right, yeah. What happened to the kids in that facility?
Oh, they burnt to death. I'm pretty sure, yeah. They're dead.
They're gone.
Yeah. It's a dark movie.
They probably all just starved to death in their cells.
Quite bleak, yeah. But yeah, pretty much. And finally, How to Survive Your 20s at H Your 20s said, not seen this film but have wanted to for some time. However, the next title should be The Girl with No Gifts, a Christmas-based sequel when a young girl leads an army to try and find Santa Claus after not getting any presents that year. So, yeah, all very good ideas. So thank you everybody for those sequel ideas. We ask for your listener submissions every week, a few days before we record, by putting posts out on Facebook and Twitter where you can post your ideas. So make sure you like and follow our pages if you don't want to miss out. To listen to more episodes of Beyond the Box Set, you can subscribe and browse our back catalogue on any podcasting platform, including iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and many others, all of which you can also leave a 5-star review if you want, which really helps us to reach new listeners. As mentioned before, we are also available on Patreon, which is exclusively for the people who would rate us 5 stars or more if they could. You can find all the links in the description below or at beyondtheboxset.com. And next week, Harry, we are doing another Patreon episode.
Ah, sweet.
We have special guest Nathaniel DeBell, friend of the podcast, is going to be joining us with one of his favourite Japanese movies called Survive Style 5+.
Okay.
So a little obscure, a little bit of a mouthful, but I'm looking forward to watching it.
Surprise, surprise, I've not heard of it.
Yeah, something a little bit different. We shall see.
Yeah.
So thank you, everybody. Join us next week for Survive Style 5+. And thank you, Harry, and we will see you next week.
Yeah, see you next week, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
The end of the world. Probably.